Good morning, everybody. It's me, Mitch. And while I make my breakfast of bacon and eggs this morning, we're going to talk about why so many new carnivore wannabes fail in their attempt during the first 30 days. That's the most dangerous time, the first 30 days. It's so important, I've already made 2 videos about what to do on the first 30 days, and I've set out a bunch of steps and some rules which most people just think are trivial and don't really recognize the nuance in them and how they may be slightly different than what you're hearing from the hundreds of other carnivore influencers that are out there. Of all the rules about shopping and all the other stuff, there's 2 that I consider to be critical. And again, people just gloss over them and they say, that's good, that's nice. And the 2 rules that I say are critical are throw away your scale or put it away. Don't throw it away, because you can get your scale out after the 30 days, but don't weigh yourself during the first 30 days. And I'm going to tell you why here in a minute. The second rule is never allow yourself to get hungry to the point of cravings. And there's a reason for that, because it's the cravings and the addiction that are the cause of diet failures. I mean, we all like to think that we have some self-control. We want to think that we're in charge, and we generally are, until a biological need comes along that basically overpowers our rational thinking and has us acting like robots. And I'm sure if most of you are watching this video that I'm making, you can look back at your own experiences and all the times that you've started a diet, and for some reason it got derailed in the first 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, maybe even as much as the first week. It happens. It happens to all of us. It's happened to me so many times over the course of my life in dieting and trying to lose weight and get back in shape, up and down, yo-yoing. The thing about carnivore that makes it unique from so many other diets is you're not doing any calorie restrictions. You don't need to be hungry. You're trying to change your biochemistry. You're trying to change the biology of the way you metabolize whatever you're eating to create energy in your cells. And the reason so many of us fail is because we really don't thoroughly understand the reasoning why I made those 2 rules the way they were. Excuse me while I beat my eggs. Thank you. The rule about never allowing yourself to get hungry is important because when you eat the protein and the fat, it triggers the satiety hormones, which is about the only way that you can knock out an addiction once it's triggered. And if you don't knock out that addiction once it's triggered pretty quick, uh, it's going to take hold and it's going to control you and you're going to be off your diet. It's that simple. It just is the way it is. Nothing we can do to control it if we're addicts. So as I keep stressing the importance of addiction, this just reinforces that. That's the reason why we fail. And my daughter, 16 days into the carnivore diet, kind of sent me an SOS and said, I need a pep talk. She's very, very addicted to sugar. And well, I like to think as my children, as kids, my daughter's 50 years old. So a kid, she's not anymore. And it's getting to the point where after a lifetime of following in my footsteps of gaining and losing and gaining and losing, it's time to straighten it out once and for good, and this carnivore thing is the way to do it. So we got talking, and she's telling me just how hard it is with these addictions. And I said to her, well, obviously you're not following the two most important rules that I set out for the first 30 days. And that rule about putting your scale away, she refused to follow. And it frustrated her because yesterday morning she gained a pound. So I had to explain to her exactly why that is. And that's the biology that most people skim over, don't want to hear, get the deer in the headlights look when I explain it. But it is the most important thing to understand. So I took a little bit of a deep dive into how it works. And when I was done, she said to me, I never heard you explain it that way before. I said, I've done that many times. She said, I've never heard you explain it that way. That means something to me. And I said, okay, maybe I should do one of my breakfast videos and explain it that way. So here's what I said to her. During the first 30 days of the carnivore diet, the only goal, the only thing that we want to accomplish is to convert our bodies, or start to convert our bodies, from metabolizing sugar as a primary fuel to metabolizing fat as a primary fuel. This is done at a cellular level. We have trillions of cells in our body. Each one of them is an independent little machine that lives on its own in a collective that makes up our human body, communicating with other cells through nerves and hormones. But each cell is a life unto itself. It's the life that we sprang from, the single cell life. It's modular, it's building blocks. That's the first concept that you have to understand, is that as an organism as a whole, the chemistry doesn't happen. It happens in our individual cells, and they're all their own little machine, their own little factory. They create their own energy to run their own processes. They take care of their own replication. They all have their own DNA. And you have to think of them as individual living things. And the first thing we need to do is tell one of these individual living things in our body that, you know, all that sugar that we've been feeding you for 50 years, you know how you're just set in your ways and you got your chemical pathways down pat, and You know that glucose is coming in and you know exactly what to do with it. And yeah, we know that you can burn fat because that's the way your ancestors did for millions of years. But since we introduced all this sugar, which is a much quicker burning, more readily available energy, you've grown to like this sugar and you've almost forgotten how to metabolize the fat. You forgot how. You have different pathways in the first step of converting whatever energy you're eating to a compound called acetyl-CoA, which is then converted into ATP, which is the energy currency that runs all the little mechanics in your cell. But it's that first step of creating that intermediate chemical called acetyl-CoA that has to be done from either fat or sugar, and they use two completely different pathways in your cells. One of those pathways, the sugar burning pathway, knows what it's doing. It's in its groove. It's been doing that your whole life. And now, all of a sudden, here you are. You're a carnivore. Your fat cells haven't gotten the message quite yet. But all of a sudden one day, there's no more sugar. There's this other stuff. What the hell is this other stuff? It's not sugar. But your body knows how to use these things. It just hasn't done so in a while or very often. It basically has to wake up the fat burning pathways. And that's what it means when we say to become fat adapted. It's like, let's say, you played golf. And 20 years ago, you gave up golf and started playing tennis. And you became a great tennis player over the 20 years. And then all of a sudden one day, they closed your tennis club and there was nowhere for you to play tennis anymore. So you had to go back to playing golf. Well, you hadn't played golf in 20 years. You are not going to start right out at the level and talent of the golfer that you were when you quit playing golf 20 years ago. But give it a little time. It'll come back to you. Same thing with playing a musical instrument or anything else that you do. Well, this is what happens in our cells. They are out of practice, burning fat, and it takes time for them. Now, here's where the problem comes in. During the period of converting into the fat-burning mode as a default, which is what you have to do to really start losing weight on carnivore, because up until now, even if you lost weight, you've basically been burning up just fluid, just water. And there's a whole chemistry to how the water comes and goes in our cells. It's not sloshing around in there like you think. It's actually chemically combined with things. But all of a sudden you've cut out the sugar. Your cell, even though you may be eating 2,000-3,000 calories a day of protein and fat, your cell is sending signals that you're starving to death. It panics. It has the programming to panic. And the cravings start. It wants sugar. Even though you're eating plenty of energy, it hasn't gotten accustomed to using that energy yet. So for the first 30 days, you've got everything working against you. You've got your cells thinking they're starving to death because all of a sudden sugar went away. And this is the reason why a lot of advice tells you to ease into it. Don't just go cold turkey. And that helps a little because there's still some sugar as your fat burning pathways start firing up again. It's an individual thing. Some people can better handle the cravings. But the cravings are going to come. And that's why the second rule that we're talking about here is eat. Always have food cooked and ready to eat quickly. If something triggers a craving, until your cells get used to exercising the fat burning pathways, you're probably more prone to get cravings and be tortured by them during the first 30 days, especially in the first 2 weeks of your diet, because you may not think you're starving to death, but your cells haven't adjusted to it yet. So it's important in the first 30 days, become a fat burner and always have food to eat, and eat until you can't eat anymore. And that's the key. It goes against everything we're used to when we're on a diet. Portion control, watching your calories. The first 30 days of carnivore, I keep saying, you have one job, one thing to do, and that's to eat. Eat until you can't eat. I don't care if you gain 20 pounds during your first week of carnivore. You are setting your body up to become a fat burner, and that's the only way you're ever going to lose weight. You're getting the sugar out of your system, you're getting your insulin levels down low, you're opening the gates to your fat cells to start releasing some fat, and that's when you'll start losing weight faster than you can ever imagine. But you have to pay the price to get yourself into that fat burning metabolism, and that's what the first 30 days are for. That's why you put away the scale, because that derails people if they see that they've gained a pound. You're not trying to lose weight. I keep saying that over. You are trying to cure your addictions, and the only way to do that is to not allow yourself to be hungry. You need to eat like there's no tomorrow. If you feel, even if it's emotional hunger and not real hunger, you need to eat whenever these cravings come up. And the amazing thing is, a couple minutes after you eat, even if it's not sugar, the cravings will subside or go away completely to a level that you can manage. So, if you want to be a carnivore, if you want to survive the first 30 days, follow those simple steps. Give it a try. If after 30 days it doesn't work, say, well, I guess Mitch's method isn't going to work for me. Today, I'm sporting my brisketarian t-shirt that my son bought me for Christmas this year, one of the new t-shirts he bought me. And I'd never seen this one before. I never heard of a brisketarian, but it dawned on me that all the other kind of diets like vegetarian and pescatarian, they all have tarian after them except carnivore. We can't think of a good way to throw tarian at the end. Carnivoritarian? Nah, doesn't work. But brisketarian, I thought that was great. And I think it says below, because brisket never disappoints. And it's right. It's got the American flag. I love this shirt. So me and my shirt are going to eat my bacon and eggs. And with that, take the rest of the day off and eat meat.